If you've ever wondered how some people stretch themselves so hard to reach a big goal, but in a way that is allowing and inviting and actually just attractive to bring that in, you are going to be so inspired by my guest on the show today. I'm going to introduce her in just a minute, but before I do, let me introduce myself. Hey there, I'm Tracy Matthews. I'm the Chief Visionary Officer of Flourish and Thrive Academy. I also wrote a book called The Desired Brand Effect, and I help jewelry brands launch, grow, and scale successful businesses to multiple 6 and 7 figures using my methodology. And today I am interviewing one of my former students. Her name is Twyla Dill, and she had a massively big goal for herself to sell $100,000 in just 55 days. And she doesn't have product that is extremely expensive either. So this was something that was just a fun challenge that she wanted to play around with. The good news is that she hit it, but she's gonna tell her story about how she got to the place where her mindset was aligned with the goal and how she just released attachment to the outcome to make this work. So let's dive into this episode today. Okay, I'm here today with Twyla Dill of Twyla Dill Designs, and I'm so excited to talk to Twyla. She was a student in our Momentum program for many, many years, and I interviewed her actually on the podcast maybe 3-4 years ago, I think it was, about how you set your business up in a really sad time in your life when your mother passed away and how you kept it going as a solo entrepreneur. So we're going to link to that episode here. But I want to welcome you, Twyla, because you did something really amazing that I want to share with everyone in our community.
Thank you, Tracy. I'm really excited to be here again. It's so fun to talk to you.
I am so excited to talk to you. We were just chatting up a little bit in the pre-show because I haven't talked to you in so long. But tell our audience a little bit about your background and your business.
Yes, my business is Twyla Dill Design. It's just my name. I make crocheted lace jewelry. So I do metalwork. I crochet lace out of fine cotton thread, and I combine the two. It's all handmade by me. I, in the past, have done mostly fabricated metal with the crochet on it. And I'm actually moving now into casting lace, where I crochet lace, I make a mold out of my lace, and I cast it into solid metal. So I'm kind of headed in a new direction with my work, which is very exciting, and I can't wait to see where that goes.
And why did you want to head in this new direction?
My work takes a lot of my physical time and energy with the crochet. And while I love it, it's not a very sustainable product to grow with.
Yeah.
Because I'm not able to reproduce any of the crochet. And while I maybe could train somebody to make it, that's not the direction I want to go in. I've also been having a desire to make jewelry that I can wear all the time. I dance a lot. I do a lot of things outdoors, and my crocheted lace is durable, but it's more like delicate clothing where you want to take it off when you're swimming and when you're showering and when you go dancing, and I go dancing all the time. So I was really wanting to make my jewelry into a product that I could personally wear in my life all the time and not take it off. And so the solid metal lends itself to that, but I wanted to keep the crochet, which is what I'm known for and which is what I love. And so the cast lace brings those together.
I love it. I mean, I figured that was why, but I just thought I would ask, because your work is very labor intensive. I've seen your little videos of you with that little tiny thing that's like poking your finger. I'm like, yeah, how do you do it? Your hands must hurt really bad.
So I don't do my crochet for hours and hours on end. I really split it up. I'm never crocheting for more than an hour or two at a time. But yes, it really bleeds into my life. I'll take crochet home and crochet while I'm watching TV in the evening, right? And I actually would like to separate that a little bit more so that work stays at my studio. And when I go home, I'm off.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I mean, amazing.
I'm also moving into fine jewelry. So I'm gonna start doing a lot more solid gold and things with my cast lace.
That's so exciting. I reached out to you a while ago about designing something, and I think I dropped the ball on that.
Yeah, okay, we can pick it back up. I know which pair. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You just reminded me. I'm like, wasn't I supposed to do that? I feel bad. I'm just like, you got to get on that. I feel like I've been wearing such small things lately that I'm like, I need some bigger summery things, especially since I wear dresses all the time here in Arizona.
The earrings we talked about making were a gold hoop with crocheted lace cascading flowers coming down in a hand-dyed white and blue.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You're jogging my memory. They're really pretty. Okay, so we were talking in the pre-show, like when we're just like catching up for a minute, just about how you've been in the state of allowing. I think that's like the best way to put it. And that kind of led to you making some decisions about how you wanted to run your business. So I kind of want to hear a little bit about that. And then I want to talk about the reason why I invited you on today, which was talk about how you sold $100,000 in 55 days.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So this year has been about a lot of transitions for myself personally and within my business. And I have been thinking a lot about like where I want my business to go and that I want it to be more online. I actually applied to have a storefront at Pike Place Market. I've sold at Pike Place Market for 5 years in Seattle. It's kind of the most touristy market here. And it's helped to grow my business a lot. And it's helped to get a lot of new customers. It's what allowed me to go full time originally because I had some security there. And earlier this year, I applied to have a storefront at Pike Place Market. And in the period while they were considering my application, I started really seriously thinking about what it would look like to have a storefront and to be tied to this one location and kind of have some commitments to community that I have this store open. And so by the time they accepted me for the storefront, I had decided I didn't want to do that and I declined it. And it kind of sent me in the opposite direction of like, actually, what do I want in my life? I want more freedom. And I've had my business for almost 8 years now. It'll be 8 years in January.
Mm-hmm.
What I've realized is that over the years, I have created a really amazing business, but I've been very focused on creating the business and not having the business help me build a life that's really the lifestyle I want. So this year, I've started to really think about and focus on what do I want my life to look like? And part of what I wanted was to not be at Pike Place anymore and to not be tied to a physical location so that I could travel more and just have more hobbies and do things that were not working all the time. So within that, I was working with a coach, my friend Gina, specifically on money and both saving money personally, but also working on my money mindset within my business and just within life. And she had a challenge for her clients to save $100,000 between their business and personal, but in cash, $100,000 in cash. And then from there to invest it, etc. I already had maybe roughly half of that saved between my business and personal. And we were talking about audacious goals and putting things out there that felt scary, but really exciting. And I'd posted maybe a week before we had this conversation, I'd posted a reel that went kind of viral.
Yes.
And it was about charging enough for my pieces and not being inexpensive. And it really resonated with a lot of artists and it went viral and everyone was kind of cheering me on and also chiming in like, yes, we don't want to undervalue ourselves as artists. We don't want to apologize for our prices. And our goal as artists is not to be inexpensive, right? It's not to be affordable. Our goal is to make money and to build these beautiful businesses and to then support our lives from these businesses. So I made a reel about that. It went viral. And when Gina and I were having this conversation about saving $100,000, I was thinking, I want to come up with something that feels bigger than that. And what if instead of my goal of saving 100,000, what if my goal is to sell 100,000? And if I set that goal, I'm obviously going to hit the savings goal because my expenses aren't high enough that I'll spend 50% of that. Right. So that was kind of decided within maybe an hour of having a conversation for like, okay, I'm going to set a goal to sell $100,000. And she had a deadline for the challenge of September 21st within her community. And so I chose the same deadline. So in doing this, I've been working a lot on mindset. And what I'm learning And what I now believe is that we create our own momentum. So part of this challenge for me was also like, oftentimes we wait around. We wait around for the holidays to happen because holidays are a good sales month. We wait around to have a big sale, for sales to come in, right? We wait around for other people to create these circumstances for us, as opposed to taking this into our own hands and creating our own momentum. And so what I learned with this is we really have the power to create our own momentum within whatever we want to do. In this case, it was my sales and my business. September 21st was a totally random date. Happened to be the one we chose because it was Gina's challenge end date. And I chose 55 days for the challenge because when I posted the first reel announcing that this was my goal, to sell $100,000 in 55 days, I posted that reel 55 days before September 21st. That's why it was 55 days. So sometimes people ask me, like, where did this challenge come from? Like, literally from nowhere. We just made it up, right? And that's the beauty of it, is you can create your own momentum with whatever you want. I could have chose $100,000 in 100 days. I could have chose to do it in 30, it doesn't matter.
It's like pushing yourself beyond that.
Exactly. I just chose 55 days because that was the challenge date. So we start on this, and the first day I post the first reel, I feel like throwing up. I am like this, and I felt a little bit nervous that first reel that went viral that was about not being affordable. But this one, I really was like, are people going to think that I'm so full of myself or whatever? I had all sorts of thoughts, but I also recognize that as artists, specifically as women, we're not always taught to kind of like talk ourselves up and to brag on ourselves and to be like, I'm amazing and actually I can do really big things. And I wanted to start embracing that more for myself, but also showcasing that we don't have to sit here quietly waiting for stuff to happen for us. We can make it happen, right? And we are amazing. And if you can claim that for yourself and go after it, you can create really big shifts in your business, in your mindset. And also, if I had gone for this 100,000 goal and not hit it, that would have been fine, because I wasn't basing my worth on hitting this goal. The goal is a bonus, right? If I had set my goal to sell $100,000 in 55 days and I'd only sold 70, oh, boo-hoo, I would have only sold, right? Like, what a consolation prize. So it was important for me to recognize that my worth is not defined by how much I sell in my business. And I think in years past, I maybe have defined myself by how much I sell in my business, but I've gotten to the point just with the confidence in myself and my mindset where it's like, I'm a worthy human being and a wonderful artist, regardless of how much I sell. But obviously it's a nice bonus because we're all in this to sell things. So it was a really interesting journey. Timing wise, that started like mid-July. Mid-July-ish, mid to end July. I was still at Pike Place Market at the time. And so I was selling in person. I was selling online. I was doing updates on reels and stories, maybe every few days of like, oh my gosh, this is how far we are toward the goal. And both my coach Gina and I had the guests that probably there would be like an uptick in sales and then a low period and then an uptick at the end. And it kind of followed that, except for this one big chunk in the middle, which was my birthday, because I had a sale. And on my birthday, which was August 20th, I turned 30 and I decided to have a 30% off sale for 24 hours on my 30th birthday. And so I talked it up a lot. And I actually happened to be out dancing the night before my birthday. So at midnight, when it became my birthday, I made a reel. I hopped on stories. I like went outside of I was salsa dancing. I went outside of the dance hall and I was like, hey, everybody, the sale is live. I'm so excited. Within the first 10 minutes of the sale, we'd already sold $2,500. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I had thought maybe, we'd sell $5,000 or something for the whole birthday, because that's what has happened in the past, right? And oftentimes we base future thinking of how we base our goals on past results, which is logical, but not always true. So I went home, I went to bed, I woke up in the morning, I went to the gym on my birthday, and by 10 a.m., we'd sold $10,000.
Oh my God.
And I was like, and I was getting really excited. And this is the practice of creating my own momentum, right? I could have been excited and then gone about my day. But instead I was excited and I made another video and I made another reel and I sent another email. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys, you have bought $10,000 of my jewelry in the 10 hours since midnight this morning. And this is so exciting. And do you want to help me get to $15,000 for my birthday sale? Right. And so I basically just asked people and was excited about it. And it just kept climbing and climbing and climbing my whole birthday.
And did you end at like $23,000 or something like that?
It was just shy of 20,000. We didn't pass 20,000, but it was just shy of 20,000. It was basically 20,000 in one day because I kept momentum. I just like kept, right? I was at the beach with my sister, having a picnic with my sister and some friends. I made another little update. We went and got ice cream for my birthday, right? I made a little update. We went dancing again on the night of my birthday. I was standing outside the club at like 11:40. Like, oh my gosh, you guys were almost at $20,000 on Instagram. So I just kept the momentum going. And so that's really what I've learned is like my excitement and my genuine appreciation for the orders carries over to people, and people want to support me in that excitement. And I feel the same about other artists, right? Like I want to support people who are excited about what they're doing as well.
Yep.
So anyways, that was kind of in the middle of this 100K challenge. And I don't remember the exact day that I shifted from being like, oh my gosh, is this even possible? You know, when I set the goal, I definitely had the thought that this is in the realm of possibility. I could sell $100,000 in 55 days. I could see it happening, but do I really believe that it's going to happen? Ooh, that belief was not quite there yet. But I'm practicing these beliefs over and over and over again. And just so many people jumped on the support bandwagon with me. I had some friends at Pike Place Market, Amy specifically, one friend who made little signs that said, my friend Twyla has a goal to sell $100,000 in 55 days. And she printed them, and her and other people at Pike Place Market put them on their booths.
Oh my gosh, that's so
sweet. Last week at Pike Place Market. It was just so much support. And I knew I wanted to leave Pike Place. And so I chose Labor Day as my last weekend because that felt fitting. But it was also, you know, multiple days before my goal ended. And I had a little bit of nervousness that maybe I wouldn't hit my goal if I wasn't at Pike Place Market for the whole remaining time. But what I proved to myself, because I did leave Pike Place on Labor Day weekend and then continued the goal, I sold another maybe $30,000 online only in the remaining part of the goal. And so I proved to myself also that I didn't need this in person. I could create the momentum online. So there were so many facets to it. And it was just a really amazing experience. And by the end, really the belief was, not only can I do things like this, but it wasn't nearly as hard as I thought. One of the beliefs that I held in the beginning of the challenge was that in order to sell specifically online and to repeat customers and things, I needed to always be making new work, always. My coach Gina challenged me on that because when we looked at it, I had $500,000 of inventory.
Yeah, I know. I saw that
at
video.
the beginning. Yep. At the beginning of my challenge, I had $500,000 of inventory. And my belief that I held was that I always have to make new work in order to sell a lot. And really that didn't make any sense because I had plenty of jewelry made already. And it didn't serve me to be making new jewelry all the time. So I also practiced stopping making anything new. And for those 55 days, I really didn't make anything else. I just shared and talked about my jewelry, and I ended up selling the 100,000 without making new things, and also proved that thought to be wrong for myself, right? But it was just a belief that I held that wasn't true. We tell ourselves lots of things that are maybe not true or aren't helpful. And so it was a practice in learning, like, oh, actually, I don't have to be making things. Obviously, my business is about making things, but it doesn't have to be a constant hamster wheel of always making in order to sell. The making and the marketing and selling are actually two different things. And I wanted the making to come from a much more thoughtful place instead of I must be making to sell.
Well, why did you have so much inventory? Was that to stock your base? Because it's a lot even for like a small little inventory.
I know. Why did I have so much inventory? Well, when I didn't know what to do in my business, sometimes if I didn't have a clear plan, my default was to making. I'm a maker firsthand. I love making things. I'm really good at production. I've had a lot of production help over the years, and people who do my or have helped do my metal work for me. So I was able to kind of build up this inventory, and I just got a little carried away, maybe a lot carried away. But anyways, like, I've talked to so many other jewelers and they're like, you have how much inventory? What?
It just seems like a lot of inventory.
So much inventory, and that's not raw materials. That's like if I sold all the finished goods.
So that's your retail price for the inventory you have on hand. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And of course now it's a little less, right? I sold $100,000 of it.
Or more than that now, but like.
Well, yeah, more than that now. And so I've had people ask, like, oh my gosh, how did you keep up with that amount of sales in such a short period of time? And to be honest, like, didn't really make anything new. I just had it all made, but I had help doing that. It wasn't just me building up that massive inventory. And it served me that I had that much inventory built up to have a goal like this be kind of easy. Like, the biggest bottleneck was that we needed to ship a lot more than we have in the past. Specifically after my birthday sale, $20,000 of orders in a day took us 2 weeks to get out because
oh my gosh,
we had to kind of change our processes. Like, I used to handwrite a note on every order. And so we had to go immediately print little cards that have a more generic, like still nice, but more generic note on it with my signed name, so that I'm not handwriting a card for every order, because that is not sustainable. Yeah.
How many pieces sold in that 20,000 or whatever day?
Ooh, and the period, like on my birthday sale specifically? That is a good question. While we're talking, I will be able to pull that up, but I don't know. Off
like 100 was the average order value, like $200, or was it?
Yeah, my average order for this year has been 190. So let's see here. If I look at this real fast, luckily I have this handy little device. That was 100 orders, 101 on my birthday.
101. That's auspicious number. That's so cool.
Yeah. So it's just been quite an adventure. And then I immediately went on vacation, basically, after.
Was that right after? Because when did you leave for Portugal? Because that was the big thing.
So my goal was to sell $100,000 in 55 days. I sold it in 54 days.
Great.
I woke up the morning before the goal was going to end, and I could see that it was really close, and I posted a video. And every time I posted a video, I actually had in my profile of Instagram and of TikTok, like, this amount remaining. I would update it. Like, I was updating it every sale for the last 10 days. Like, every sale that came in, I was updating that number. So because people were like watching me like a hawk. They were like, okay, what's the number now? We want to see, we want to know when you're going to hit it. And the order that came in, I don't remember the woman's name. I'd have to go back and look. But it was specifically just over the correct amount. She'd placed an order that was just big enough because she'd looked at my profile, and I messaged her later and she was like, yes, I wanted to be the one to put you over. And so I placed an order that was just big enough to get you over that hump. So it was the morning before I was having the goal end that I hit it. And I thought I would be a little bit emotional, but I was really emotional. I made a video and I was like crying in my living room.
Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you be? You like totally did it, girl.
It was pretty amazing. It was quite an amazing feeling. And then I took the rest of that day off and just had champagne with friends. Like,
yeah, why not? Seriously.
That was September 21st. And then I actually had a show in St. Paul, an American Craft Council show in St. Paul at the beginning of October. And I had a mastermind in Austin, Texas. So I flew to Austin, Texas like a week later. I stayed in the fanciest hotel I've ever stayed in for a few days. I was like sat by the pool. It was a very fancy hotel. It was amazing. And then I went to this show in St. Paul, and I came home from the show in St. Paul. I had a day and a half. I unpacked, I repacked, and then I flew to Portugal. And that was on October 16th, I think, or 12th, something like that. It was right at the beginning of October, or mid beginning of October. And I had been wanting to travel. I love traveling. Traveling is a huge inspiration for me. And I'd been on vacations over the years that were maybe like 1 to 2.5, 3 weeks, but I hadn't traveled alone in a long time. And I hadn't gone for a longer period of time. And since I was no longer at Pike Place and I didn't have any holiday shows, I was like, I really want to just go. So I went for 5 weeks to Portugal. And I also was just so tired from the whole summer.
Yeah.
I'd worked really hard. And I ended up staying in Portugal for 4 of the weeks and going to Barcelona to Spain for 1 of the weeks. And I didn't work the whole time.
So nice. Just taking time off. Look at you.
Oh, good. Definitely want to build that into my business more and have a lot more time off. But it was amazing. And I had some people ask, like, how were your sales after the 100,000? I didn't have a lot of sales while I traveled because my sales are fairly tied to the content that I'm producing, right? So the more I'm posting on social media and the more emails I'm sending, the more sales I'm getting. So I had some orders while I was gone, but I didn't have nothing like, August was the biggest month I've ever had in my business. And it was maybe $54,000 in August. And September was big as well, right? Because I was still finishing that goal. And then October was maybe $5,000, $6,000, right? Like much, 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 much lower in comparison. My break even number for my business is much higher than that, right? So I was in the red in September, or in October, and in November, actually, because I was traveling most of November. But that's okay, right? I'm also learning that, like, as my business grows specifically, consistency is a bit of a myth. Like, I'm not going to have consistent sales every month. I can have massive months and really low months, and they're going to even each other out. And that is totally fine. So I didn't have a lot of sales while I was gone. And then I came back and I started posting again, and we're in the holidays, right? And so the sales haven't been anything like my challenge because I haven't been pushing it like that. But they've been good again, right? So it's just a balance.
Well, you were saying in the pre-interview that this has been a different kind of holiday season. What did you mean by that?
Yeah. So I flew back on November 16th from Portugal. And then I am not at Pike Place Market anymore. So I don't have a physical place that I'm going to sell every day. I also was doing no holiday shows. So I went from Pike Place Market like every day of December, obviously having employees before as well. So I wasn't personally there every day, but it was still a lot. I was there a lot. We were sitting outside in the cold. Love Pike Place Market, but it's like being at a farmer's market every day in terms of like how you're dressing and preparing to be outside. So I don't have that at all this winter, and then no holiday shows. So just a lot more relaxed. Like, I'm just in the studio, I'm just sending emails and doing social and being online. And then this last weekend was Urban Craft Uprising, which is a great show in Seattle that I've usually done. And I didn't get in this year, which is totally fine. You're not guaranteed to get in every year. But I got an email or we were talking on Instagram Messenger, maybe DMs, at noon on Friday. And the show opened at 5 p.m. on Friday for the preview night. And the organizer was like, there was a last minute cancellation. What is the chance you'd like to be here? I was like, I thought about it for 5 minutes. Like, okay, center myself. Like, do I want to push and do this show totally last minute? It's like, actually, that sounds really fun. I love this show. I love being there. I love shows, but I don't want to do them all the time, right? I want to choose ones that I really like, where my customers are, that are really fun. Tons of my friends are vending there. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I knew at noon that I got in. I was at the exhibition hall setting up by 1:30. I was set up by 5. And it was actually one of the most relaxing shows I've ever had because I didn't spend weeks preparing for it and overproducing inventory, which, believe me, I would have done. Even though I have plenty of inventory, I would have produced more inventory because that's what I do. And I had no sales expectations because I wasn't planning on the income from this show. And so it just ended up being a really lovely show. It was like decent. I didn't sell as much as I did in 2019 there, but it didn't really matter. And I did sell some really big one-of-a-kind pieces. I sold like a $1,300 pair of earrings, an $800 necklace, a $700 pair of earrings, like more large one-of-a-kind than I maybe would have expected. And it was just really wonderful. So that was my only show of the year. That was last weekend. Today, actually, I released 2 seasonal colors that are super limited edition. They're the last seasonal colors that I'm releasing because I'm moving away from my physical crocheted lace into cast lace. So this was the last release this morning. And that's it, really. I'm going to do another restock of some vermeil pieces that are my cast lace that are coming from my platers next week. So I'll do it just a very last minute restock of those. But that's it, really. And I get to have a relaxing holiday and not be anywhere else or do anything else that I don't want to do. I get to go to holiday parties, go out dancing and cook and, do these things that I just didn't let myself have time to do in the past because I was kind of grinding right up until Christmas.
So I want to just ask you a final question. Like, what would you say to designers and makers who are out there who want to start allowing more in their business and to set a big goal like that and challenge themselves to like put themselves out there?
I mean, go for it, whatever that goal is for you. You have to really practice believing in yourself, like really believing in yourself. I think that the most important thing for me has been mindset work because we tell ourselves a lot of stories and half the time they're unintentional and we don't know that we're telling ourselves a story, right? We tell ourselves about how much we can sell or about how much our pieces are worth, right? We tell stories about our pricing. We tell ourselves all sorts of things. And sometimes they're true and sometimes they're not, but really examining your mindset and questioning why you're thinking something. And even when you set a goal, thinking, oh, I really worked hard on this goal, but then I didn't hit it. Did you really work hard on it, right? Like, did you actually do everything you could have done to hit it? Did you send tons more emails than you usually?
All the emails, exactly.
Like, oh my gosh, I was just also talking with this same money coach, my friend, and I send on average 2 emails a week in my business. And we were talking about this the other day, and she sends sometimes 1 a day, sometimes more. And
we send a lot of emails over here.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't send enough emails. Like 2 a week is not enough emails, right? And again,
Twyla, you should have learned that from Momentum. I was getting on you.
Well, I got to 2 with you. And actually, when I have things going on, I definitely send more than 2. When I have sales, when I have events going on, I'm definitely sending more than 2 in a week. But actually ongoing, we have stories about not bothering people. We have stories about not being annoying. We have stories about not being too salesy. We have all of these thoughts. And the honest truth is, if somebody doesn't want to be your customer, they can leave. And that's fine. And so you sending as many emails as you need to, or selling your things and physically asking for the sale, if they want to leave, they can leave. And that's totally fine because they weren't going to buy anyways.
I love this so much. Oh my gosh, they weren't going to buy anyways. It's hard. I think people worry about this. It's funny because we had a masterclass that I hosted yesterday called An Inside Look at a 7-Figure Jewelry Brand. You're one of the case studies. I know you don't have a 7-figure business, but I do preface that. I'm like, some of these are multiple 6-figure brands who we worked with in our Momentum program and stuff like that. And some lady's like, I can't subscribe. I'm like, okay, give me your email address. I'll check. And she's like, oh, I didn't get an email. So I'm like, give me your email address. I'll have my guy look. This is over Instagram.
Yeah.
And she unsubscribed and like from our list like a while ago. And I was like, okay. And I looked at her profile and was like, she's not really our ideal customer either.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really bother me that that happens. And people do sometimes get annoyed from sending a lot of emails. But what I have to say is like, the thing that is interesting, it's like people say, like, for instance, for someone like us, people say they want help with their business, and we're offering support in a lot of different ways, like free stuff,
absolutely.
like this podcast, or like free downloads, information inside the emails and stuff like that. And you don't have to, what I used to say to people is like, you don't have to open every single email that you get from like your favorite brand, right? But you still get the emails, right? And you don't have to open them. But the thing is like, I don't really know where I was going with this, except that like I love what you said about how like people can just leave if they want to leave. And that's the truth. And I think like every person I talk to who says that their sales grew and they did something that made them feel uncomfortable. And one of the things that they did to sell more online was to send more emails than they were comfortable with and getting pushed over that edge. It really is the one thing that will change everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am still sending only 2 emails. We're working on it. We're going to be sending a lot more emails going forward.
Send like 5 emails a week this holiday season.
I think 5 is a good place to be. And then also for me personally, what seems to work is I started speaking very honestly. I started being very open with my community, and I don't post static anything anymore. It's all reels. And I know a lot of people have resistance to reels and it's video, etc. But it doesn't have to be perfect, right? I don't show up like, hi, I'm a perfect human being. Everything looks amazing all the time. I'm just very raw and honest, right? Sometimes I'm wearing makeup, sometimes I'm not. It doesn't matter. Some of my reels, I am like sitting in bed and I don't have clothes on and it's just my neck up, right? It doesn't matter. Like just showing up as you, people really connect with who you are as a brand, as a person, and not worrying about like done is better than perfect, right? Done is 100% better than perfect. And I'm not showing up perfectly ever. I'm just showing up as me.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love it. Twyla, thank you so much for sharing all that. Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
I don't know. We talked a lot.
I know.
I'm sure there's more. There's always more, but I can't think of it right now.
Where can everyone find you on Instagram and your website?
Yes, Instagram is at Twyla Dill Design, TikTok at Twyla Dill, and my website is twyladill.com. And that's TWYLA, and then Dill is in pickle.
Twyla Dill Pickle. I love it.
Yes.
Thanks for being here, girl.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you so much for listening to the show today. This is Tracy Matthews signing off. Until next time, but before I do, if you're someone who has big goals for your jewelry business and you want to reach those goals a lot faster, well, we would love to help. If you're wondering how we can help over at Flourish and Thrive with our programs, with our coaching and mentoring from me and my team of coaches, we would love to invite you to apply for a discovery call. All you have to do is head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/discover. On that call, we're going to talk a little bit more about your big picture goals, like what you're trying to create in your business. We're going to unpack what's actually happening in your business to see like what might be blocking you from reaching those goals. And then we're going to look into it step by step to figure out what needs to happen in order to get to the next step. Because a lot of times there are roadblocks in the way that we don't even realize. So if you're someone who's looking for more support with your jewelry business, head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/discover and book in a discovery call today. Ciao for now.